Dominicast presents Truth Bites, the truth in small bites. Capital sins: anger, avarice, and envy.
Truth Bite 26. Anger. Anger is a feeling, an emotion, a passion. And feelings, emotions, and passions are a normal and vital part of our human makeup, and as such, not sins at all. Anger is often necessary to our survival, both physically and spiritually. It helps us to self-defend. It protects us from caving into fear. It can also help us to defend others. It can be a virtue to be angry when someone you love has been or is being abused, or when injustice is being done to any human being for that matter, or to humanity in general. It's virtuous to be angry when the God you love and worship is being mocked or insulted or lied about. The Son of God was angry, and really showed it, when people were using the holy temple, God's house, as a marketplace. So there is such a thing as just or righteous anger. Christians can and sometimes should be angry. Where anger turns into sin, and it can often be a very ugly and deforming kind of sin, is where it's not controlled by our reason and becomes brutal and vicious, out to hurt for the sake of hurting or getting people back, or making sure we come out on top. Without the management of our reason, human passions of all kinds become destructive. They cause us to damage other people and in the process damage ourselves. And feelings of anger are no exception. Anger is sparked off by all kinds of different factors. Some of us are born with a choleric temperament, a quick temper, a short fuse that lends itself to anger. Others have that peaceful kind of temperament that takes life as it comes and is not into temper tantrums. Some of us have a lot more hard knocks to bear in life than others. Some are born into conflicted families. Some find themselves in very deprived life situations, physically, emotionally, or socially. Some are angry because life for them is full of threats and fears. Yes, for many of us, anger is very close to the surface, and sometimes it seems to be our only way out of our troubles. Anger often seems quite justifiable, something most thoughtful and sensitive people would understand and excuse. However, we shouldn't spend time and effort making excuses for our anger, but turn it into something productive. Lashing out at the world because life is tough for me may let off some steam, but it won't necessarily change anything for the better. Anger needs to be channeled into positive solutions to life's problems. But in order to do this, we need to handle anger rationally. What does this mean? First of all, it means analysing and weighing up the reasons for our anger. Is it justified, or is it over the top? For some people, anger is just a habit. They lose their temper when they don't get what they want, when they want it, and on their own terms. This is the spoilt brat syndrome and requires some prompt and strong therapy from self and others. We should recognize the different forms of anger. The alternative to losing our temper is the more subtle anger, which takes the form of putting others down or going into passive-aggressive mode when things aren't going our way. When we feel we're losing ground or losing face or money or power or whatever matters to us. Then there is that strange idea that when we are angry, we're in control, whereas the case is actually just the opposite. Anger is usually a sign that we have lost control, that things are just too much for us. On the whole, anger stems from pride. You won't find humble people losing their tempers, mainly because they have things in proportion, which the angry ones of this world mostly do not. We all know the damage uncontrolled and irrational anger does. It destroys individuals, breaks up families, starts wars, leads to social crimes of all kinds. Do we have to name them? It makes people hard to get on with, hard to employ, and hard to love. It can make life frightening or miserable or unbearable. No one will argue that anger is not a capital sin with tentacles everywhere. It may be where we should start if we want to clean up the world. We speak of God's anger. This is obviously just our way of speaking of God as if he had our human vulnerabilities. God can't be hurt. He can't be reduced to fear or helplessness. He can't lose it. He can't be threatened by anyone or anything. He is eternal and unchanging, so he can't be angry. But he sure can remove our angers by fixing the problems that spark them off. It's all a matter of believing he can do this and of asking him very humbly to do it.
Truth Bite 27. The Capital Sin of Avarice. We all know the story of Scrooge. In fact, we often give his name to people who are mean and money-grabbing. It's no compliment to be called Scrooge because it signifies some very unpleasant traits of character, extremely unlovable and antisocial ones. These traits boil down to a capital sin which we call avarice. Capital because it has a whole raft of other sins which come with it: theft, embezzlement, swindling, and compulsive gambling, to name a few. What does avarice look like? It looks like someone who wants and wants and wants, but is never inclined to give. It's the ultimate in possessiveness, selfishness, and egotism, and thanks to original sin, we all have a tendency to it. Little children are the ones who show avarice most clearly, and coming a close second are those adults who have never really outgrown the selfishness of childhood. We can know how widespread the tendency to avarice is by taking a quick look at the advertising industry. Multi-million dollars flow from the cultivation of avarice by those who have made a very close study of this vice. Advertising is the art of knowing how to keep people wanting. Some have even dubbed shopping malls the modern-day temples, the best-kept, biggest buildings in town, serving their own money-making religions. Tragically, many people gravitate towards these places for their social life, their intellectual stimulation, and their personal fulfillment, often coming to buy just for the sake of buying. Others find that same satisfaction in constantly surfing, scrolling, clicking, and buying online. Unfortunately, it's a satisfaction that fades as soon as you've landed the thing you had your eye on, so that you're compelled to look for another. You're now locked into an endless process of searching and dissatisfaction. This pathetic process is a far cry from the more profound kinds of human searching, where people are looking for truth and goodness, genuine relationships, and a worthwhile purpose in life. After all, human beings were made to think and know and love, and to blossom as persons. This being so, the avaricious are just wasting their life and talents, collecting stuff that will never satisfy them, and buying up superficial experiences of fun and pleasure. Things become more important to them than people. It's no wonder relationships are so fragile and good ones so hard to come by. You can put it all down to materialism. Materialism is the philosophy of today. It's very much about our endless desire to own. It keeps us chained to this world, and because we're made for a higher happiness than this world can give, it keeps us forever unsatisfied. It makes us mean and selfish and lacking in respect or compassion for people. It shrinks our personhood to the point where even we don't really know who we are apart from our possessions. And strangely, materialism and avarice are not just tendencies of the rich. Sometimes the rich are quite detached from their wealth. Perhaps they can afford to be. They're probably never going to find themselves short. Sometimes the wealthy can be generous and very concerned about the needs of others, while the less well-off may focus on working their way up the financial or social scale. However, it's also true that the poor of this world are sometimes the most generous and giving. One very important teaching of Jesus Christ was that happiness is found in a certain detachment from the things of this world. Some religions measure holiness by worldly wealth, but Christianity teaches that the poor in spirit are the happy people, because while we're free to appreciate and enjoy the good things of this world, we can't take any of it with us into the next. It's a fundamental Christian message that while we have a responsibility to work for our own needs, we shouldn't be wearing ourselves out spending and getting, or worrying about how to have as much or more than other people. We have a Heavenly Father who knows what we need, and let's face it, it all comes from Him in the end. He waits for us to ask, to seek, and to knock.
The capital sin of envy. The motto of the envious is, "It's not enough that I should win, everyone else must lose." Envy is the ultimate sour grape sin, where a person feels sad at another's success and satisfaction at their failure. For the envious person, the best thing that could happen to them is that the worst thing should happen to the person they envy. Remember how pride is at the root of all the capital sins? Well, envy is very close to this root. If I see myself automatically as better than everyone else, that's pride. Then everyone else becomes my rival, and their good is my loss. That's envy. Pride was the first sin to enter the universe. Envy and the hatred it brings followed soon after. The devil and the other fallen angels saw themselves as better than everyone else, including God. They fell from grace and now want to see us dragged down to their level. Envy's end game is always to bring others down. But let's be clear about what envy is not. Envy is not admiring the worthwhile achievements of others and trying reasonably to achieve them ourselves. Envy is not healthy competition, which strives to achieve without depriving others of a fair chance. No, for envy, there can be no sharing of gifts. The gifts of the other are a personal attack on my peace. Remember, it's not enough that I should win. Everyone else must lose. It's easy to see the large-scale fruits of envy on the world scene. Warring nations seeking more territory, warring political parties vying for votes, warring companies pushing for extra profits. But what does envy look like for us as individuals? First, there's dissatisfaction. Someone else's talent, possession, luck, whatever, bothers us and blinds us to all the good we already have. Second, there's a feeling of deprivation, the irrational idea that we have a right to whatever others have. People can waste their lives not only in envying the millionaire's lifestyle or the supermodel's beauty, but in ignoring what they could achieve themselves but are too busy envying to try. Third, there's the gnawing desire to outdo the other. Sometimes we want what the other has just because he or she has it. This is envy at possibly its lowest point. The sky's the limit on the various ways envy shows itself. Some of these are very childish antics, showing off, pulling others down, indulging in self-pity and looking for sympathy, even scheming to destroy what the other has. And when it comes to the vice of envy, there's also the other side of the coin, mentioned in the Bible, provoking others to envy. This can take the form of putting down the envied person or persons in order to enlist supporters for your own envy. But most of all, it means playing the game of anything you can do, I can do better. Bragging about what we have or have achieved, turning life into a cutthroat competition. Constantly plotting how we can outshine others. keeping up with the Joneses, so that people will want to keep up with us. Even lying about what we have or what we've done, so that other people are stung into envy of us. All of this goes beyond bad taste. It is demoralizing to others and involves us in the double vice of envy and being the cause of envy. Humility is nowhere to be found in this ugly process, but pride is there, larger than life. So how do we fight envy? First of all, by asking God to help us see things the way He does. It may seem that He doesn't share His gifts out very fairly, but gifts are not given by God just for our personal kudos, but for the benefit of everyone else too. We are all supposed to share in the good that comes from others. Sure, not everyone uses their gifts unselfishly, but where they do, we should allow ourselves to be enriched by them, grateful for them, not envious. Besides, we can't expect everyone, including ourselves, to have every good going. Not all of us can be concert pianists or world-class athletes, but would certainly be better off checking out and making the most of our own gifts, instead of lamenting about the ones we don't have, or looking enviously at those of others. The fact is, we have a unique place in God's plan, and unique gifts that go with it. Winning in life is not about making sure that others lose, but about being exactly what we're supposed to be, and letting others do the same.